Hello viewers, welcome back. We are just continuing on metals. So today's lesson is based much on alloys. So what is an alloy? By definition, an alloy is the homologous mixture of two or more metals, or a metal and a non-metal. That is the definition for an alloy. So an alloy is the homologous mixture. This is the homologous mixture of two or more metals or a metal and a non-metal. So an alloy is the homologous mixture of two or more metals or a metal and a non-metal. So what are some of the examples of alloy? Here we have the examples of alloy. The examples of alloys. The first one that we have is mild steel. So mild steel is an example of alloy. So this mild steel that we are seeing here, it is made out of carbon and iron. So the combination of two, carbon and iron, we form what? We form mild steel. Then the other thing is that, or the other example of an alloy is brass. So this brass is a combination of copper and zinc. So this is the combination of copper and zinc. Then the other one is bronze. Bronze is made out of copper. When you combine copper and tin, you form bronze. Then the other one is stainless steel. So this is the combination of chromium, nickel, and iron. So the combination of these three, they form stainless steel. So guys, the thing is that under alloys, it's very important to know the components or the elements that form what? Each alloy. For example here, mild steel. It's very important for you guys to know that when you combine carbon and iron, you form mild steel. Because in an exam, they can ask you to say, mention two elements that makes up mild steel. So it's very important for you guys to know what really makes mild steel. You need to know to say it's carbon and iron. Same applies to blast. You need to know to say the elements which makes blast. We have copper and zinc. Bronze, we need to know that the elements that makes bronze, we have copper and tin. Same applies to stainless steel. We need to know that the one that makes stainless steel, we have chromium, nickel, and iron. Once you know this, then you are good to go, because now these are steels which are homologous mixture. Because from the definition, as we already said from the preamble to say, An alloy is the homologous mixture of two or more metals, or a metal and a non-metal. So if you look here, there is a non-metal and a metal. Carbon is a non-metal, but it is being combined with iron. When carbon is combined with iron, it forms mu distill. There is a non-metal and a metal here. Here we have the metal, metal and metal. They are being combined to make what? To make alloys. So, what are the uses of these alloys that we have been talking about? It's very important, guys, for us to know the uses of these alloys that we are talking about. The uses of these alloys. Uses of alloys. So what's the uses of these alloys? So alloys are used in the production of cars. So alloys are used in the production of cars. Alloys are used in the production of electrical appliances. So when making cars, these cars that we see around, they use alloys. Let's just imagine if they were not using alloy. Would have been using these cars? The answer is no. Because alloy is just a mixture of different metals. So, meaning the metals that they use to make cars, they are very strong. They are very strong. So, one uses of alloy is production of cars. Then the second one is production of electrical appliances. These things that we use in our daily basis, they were formed from alloys. TVs. Remember, in a TV, there's what we call copper. There are a lot of things, a lot of metals, a lot of alloys, and these things are like electrical appliances. These are things these are appliances that use electricity. They are being made out of what? They are made out of alloy. So, not only that, let's also look at corrosion. Let's also look at corrosion. So, what is corrosion, guys? So, by definition, corrosion is the gradual destruction of metals by some chemical reaction. This is the gradual destruction of metals by some chemical reactions. So corrosion is the gradual destruction of metals by some chemical reactions. So what is the example? Which example can you give as the example of corrosion so that we understand it better? So the example of corrosion is rusting in iron. Let me say e.g. So the example of corrosion that we can give is just rusting in what? In iron. When iron, let's say for example, we put iron just outside the house, we put iron, then it rains. Then there's those rains, the rains through the water, through that metals that you just leave with outside. Then after some times, there are some rustings which are going to be formed on that iron or on that metal. That's what we call corrosion. There are some structures that you're going to see on that metal, different structures that you're going to see. That's now what we call rusting. Rusting is being caused through the process of corrosion. which is the gradual destruction of metals by some chemical reaction. Meaning there are some chemical reactions which are taking place for that metal to be in that state which is it. For example, rusting, water. That's what we mean here. So, how is this rust formed? How is rust formed? So it is formed when iron react with air into the presence of water. When iron react with air in the presence of water. So when this iron react with air in the presence of water, then rust is formed. This is exactly what I was explaining. You leave iron, then it's being exposed to air. Then once there's a contact of water, meaning rusting is going to be formed. Now the chemical formula for rust is hydrated iron 2 oxide. The formula for rust is hydrated iron 3 oxide, and this can be written as hydrated iron 3 oxide, written as, so this is hydrated iron 3 oxide. Then we are talking about corrosion, and we said by definition corrosion, the gradual destruction of metals by some chemical reaction. Then we also looked at the example of corrosion, which is rusting. Then we also looked at how this rust can be formed. Now, since we know how this rust can be formed, now how can it be prevented from happening? How can you prevent this rusting that we have been talking about? How can you prevent it from happening? Now let's look at the prevention of this corrosion that we are talking about. Methods of preventing corrosion. It's very important to know how we can prevent this corrosion, guys. So the first method that we can use to prevent this corrosion is to place the barriers around metals. Placing of barriers around metals. What do I mean? You make sure that you protect your metals by putting something that can prevent water to get into contact with air to form rust. You're pressing some barriers. These are the barriers that are being talked about. So, the examples of barriers that we can use to prevent these metals are painting and oiling the metals. So placing a barrier across or around metals, we mean painting or oiling the metals. Once we do that, mainly we are going to prevent this corrosion to take place on the metals. Secondly, we have what we call applying sacrificial protection. So what is really involved on applying sacrificial protection? This involves coating a less reactive metal with a more reactive metal, e.g. galvanizing. So this is where now you bring the what? This is an aspect whereby you combine the less reactive metal with a more reactive metal. By so doing, you can protect your metal from corrosion. That's what we mean by applying sacrificial protection. Third one is by alloying. So what do we mean by alloying? We can combine the alloys which are non-rusting alloys. By so doing, you can prevent your metals from corrosion. Let's say, for example, steel and brass. If these two are non-rusting alloys, then we can combine them. Once we combine these two, then we can prevent our metals from corrosion. Then the last one, we have electroplanting. What do we mean by electroplanting? This simply means coating the surface of metals which corrode with a non-corroding metal using electricity. This is very simple and straightforward, guys. Here you have the metal that corrode easily, metal that corrode easily. And the metal that does not corrode easily. So this metal which corrode easily, you bring it down, then up you put this metal which does not corrode easily. Then after that, you use electricity to attach them. By so doing, you are preventing that metal which is down from corroding. So meaning, by so doing, you are preventing that metal from corrosion. So these are 5 methods that we can use to prevent what? To prevent metals from corrosion. Just imagine in an exam they bring such simple question to say, mention 3 methods that we can use to prevent corrosion. Can you fail to answer that such kind of a question, guys? Just remember this. You say we place barriers around metals. Now what are those barriers? We paint by oiling. You need to write your answers in full. You explain to show your understanding. You also apply sacrificial protection. Less metal and more reactive metals, you combine them. Alloying, steel and brass, if there are non-rusting alloys, you combine them. By so doing, you are preventing corrosion. Then we also have electroplanting method. That's where now we bring the metal which can corrode easily, and the metal that cannot corrode easily. Then you marry them together. Then you marry them using electricity. By so doing, you are preventing your metals from corrosion. So this is the end of the lesson for today. If there is any question, drop it in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe so that whenever I make a new video, it will be able to reach you. Thank you.